What's happening, guys? It's the real Napoleon here, and I am making this video for Escape from Tarkov, kind of to address an issue that I've noticed come up on, some comment sections of YouTube for different videos and just general complaints for stash size and how to organize your stash in Escape from Tarkov. So, I have the Edge of Darkness edition, so I actually have the biggest stash. But nevertheless, it's come up so often. The developers actually said that they're going to be increasing stash sizes in the next patch, which is always a welcome thing. But I think there are certain things you can do to kind of mitigate the problem, especially if you have the standard edition, which is much smaller than what I have here. So whenever I'm watching any videos and I see somebody's stash, it's always a jumble mess of random stuff, and I'm kind of no different here. I have condensed milks, and I have an epsilon for some reason over here, which it just makes the overall stash experience a little harder to deal with and a little more annoying. So first things first, we'll go over a couple of different use cases for how to organize your stash, what I think is good, and honestly, there's a way I think that's better than what I'm even using right now, but you're gonna have to experiment and see what works best for you. What works for me might not work for you. So jumping right into it, you'll notice I have consumables up here. Waters. I have some random stuff just taking up space, and that's for one reason really. Whenever you have items that you're purchasing or things that you're just quick moving from your inventory, it's going to go to the highest spot available in the stash. So if you buy a bunch of ammo, the ammo will take up these two spots and then some stuff here. It's kind of really weird and a little bit annoying. As you can see, those two meds went from up here to down here when I moved these mags. So I like to fill this area up so that I have open space down here. And these are all consumables. I have med cases full of, all-in-one kits, Saliwas and IFAKs, Grizzlies, which I should probably sell. I have quick meds here, which are good to supplement your all-in-ones. And then I just kind of have an extra one for a bunch of random nonsense. Again, a lot of the advice that I give you is going to depend on your level and your ability to find or buy certain things. Like if you can't get med cases, if they're not unlocked in the therapist, then you're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because these offer a good size advantage over just putting random stuff up here. But you can still do it. So consumables up here. Money cases are your best friend because they allow you to store a lot of money in a smaller area. And then moving down underneath that, we have what I like to call like the operation area. This is where conducting missions, these are things I'm going to be grabbing, regularly to do whatever I'm intending to do in that mission, And I like to have a few different loadouts depending on what I'm doing. You'll notice I have eye cases and a weapons case. Cases are very expensive, like super duper expensive. I don't think the weapons cases are really super useful. As you can see, you can kind of only fit like 2 or 3 weapons from left to right. And then I'm super OCD, so I like to organize my magazines with the weapons. But you can't carry a lot of stuff in here, especially if you start putting, sniper rifles or silenced weapons in here. I only have, 3 weapons and a handful of mags. The eye case, on the other hand, I think is a much better alternative because, as you can see, I have 4 submachine guns here, but I could easily fit 4 rifles and like a million mags. I don't think it's worth keeping extra accessories like scopes or optics outside of weapons. If you have weapons with rails and stuff, put them on those weapons. They just take up less space that way, and honestly, accessories are a dime a dozen. You can find them everywhere. They're easily purchased at almost any level. So moving down, I have my weapons not really organized in any particular way. I have a shotgun here, and then I have a DMR, some sniper rifles. This is really just stuff that I ganked off of people. And then moving down a little more, I have weapons cases full of pistols. I am going to give you advice a little bit later that kind of contradicts what I'm going to tell you right now. But I like keeping pistols for one reason. If I'm feeling lazy or if I'm broke and I don't want to go in with, $150,000 sniper rifle, a pistol is a really great alternative to do a quick run, or if you're doing missions that require you to go into kind of dangerous areas. Pistols are great for kind of just trying to keep that a little bit of extra survivability. And keeping them in these cases just saves you from having to buy them over and over and over at the traders, which really slows down your gameplay. You'll notice I only have the MP443 and the 226R here. The Glock is kind of expensive because it takes euros. Out of the 226 and the 443, I actually prefer the 443. Its fire rate's a little bit faster, and it has 18 rounds versus 15, which in this game, 3 rounds makes a big difference. But nevertheless, you find both of these weapons everywhere, so whenever you see a pistol, it's not a big deal to just pick it up and take one home, and then you can always sell the extras. Moving down a little more, I have a bunch of ammo cases, and I have them organized very specifically. I've, Russian ammo for pistols, Russian rifle ammo, American pistol ammo, and then American rifle ammo. And you'll notice I only have AK round 7.62 by 39 and I don't even know what this is, 7.62 by 54. I don't have any AK-74 ammo because as I've moved up in rank, I've noticed that as the game progresses, people have better armor, and those 5.45 rounds just don't tend to do the damage that I'm looking for. So, again, personal preference, but organize your ammo, makes a big difference, saves you from going to the traders all the time. Moving down a little more, you'll see I have a bunch of random stuff in no particular order here. This is where I'm selling stuff, just to keep it separate from things I want to keep. So anything below the pistol cases till right about here is for sale, and once it fills up, I usually just go to the vendors and get rid of it. Except for this. This is a mission item, and I'm just waiting to get a 30 round mag so I can turn it in. And then moving a little further down, we have cosmetic items. I think these are actually important, and I'll show you why. If you look at your character, both of them are white dudes, and your head is super obvious. Like, it stands out, and that is the worst area to get shot in. So, if you have an extra head covering, use it because it reduces your visibility by a ton, especially glasses. They just make your character look cool, but they block a little bit more of that light colored skin up there. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy these things, but I found all of them. And then I have eye cases. All these night visions I stole from people, so no, I didn't spend money on them. Armors, so I'm just keeping armor here for the sake of convenience. And then ignore that one. I have more gazelles here. My favorite helmet, the Fast MT, it just offers better protection, especially in this configuration, with the F visor, the short one. You tend to ricochet some shots, especially compared to the 6B47. Although a rifle round will pierce almost any helmet, people using submachine guns, or if they get a bad shot on you, this will definitely save your ass. Gazelle armors. This is probably my favorite armor, especially over the Fort. Fort is nice, but this offers a bit more mobility for pretty close to the same, not close to the same, but similar protection. I have the Untar armor just for cheat boy runs. You probably shouldn't leave home without armor on, but you do you, right? And then I have tradables in this case. So I have 1,000,000 gold chains. I haven't been getting any kind of forts or whatever with them, but I've been saving them. Dog tags that are over level 30, I keep in here too for the trades, and you know uh, I like keeping them around just to see who I've been shooting up and stuff like that, mostly for the trades. Moving down, contacts. I like contacts over the Swordens. I hated both of them at first. I think the crunchy sound is super annoying when you're walking on gravel, but once you get used to using them, they're a tactical advantage that can't be ignored. I think it's worth trying to figure out, how to use them, how they work, what the advantages are. But they come with a risk. They make your character more expensive to take into raids. But I think it's worth it. And then moving down, I have rigs. So I think I got this from a mission. This is the plate carrier that brings tons of space, but also has a little bit of extra armor. But my favorite rig is the WT rig, just for its flexibility. You could put a helmet in here, or any large item, and then you have your regular slots as well. One thing with the WT rig that's pretty cool is it actually fits in a gamma and offers you one extra slot of storage depending on what you're carrying. So it's actually 2x5, so you get 10 spaces of storage versus 9, which is really cool. And then I have backpacks down here. If you're going to store backpacks, again, they take up a lot of space. If you're going to store them, backpackception is the way to go. I have like 7 pilgrims right here, and they only take up 1 space. I have the attack 2, which is really cool. And then I have my camelbacks in here. Now, one thing to note, I'll show you right now. The pilgrim, I don't like going out into raids with, other than probably night factory or whatever. Night raids are fine because the visibility is so much lower, but as you'll see, it's a very big purple shoot me on the back of it. And now that Ragman has this as a mission item, they're even more sought after, so people will be a lot riskier trying to take this from you if you go out into raids. So that being said, I like the extra space that it affords. It's a huge bag. But a better option once you unlock it is the attack 2. As you'll see, it's a little bit less visible. It's flat dark earth, so it blends in with the environment a little bit more. And it's not a big purple shoot me sign on your back. That's not what I wanted to do. Now, with all this being said, organizing your stash the way I've organized it makes your life much easier when it comes to finding things, but it's still not the best way to organize your stash if you're hurting for space. So if you have a standard edition, this is my suggestion. Look at each item, and then you're going to want to calculate the rubles per slot that it takes up, right? For example, I have a SKS, OP SKS here with a silencer, which makes it a little bit longer. I'm not going to consider the optics as part of this because optics are really a dime a dozen and they don't increase the size of your thing in the stash. But if you look at this, this is 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 12 spaces in total. The silencer and the gun together probably cost around like 62,000 rubles. I'm kind of just guesstimating. But if you do 62,000 divided by 12, it becomes about 5,200 per space that you're taking up, right? So you can see what the value per space is here. So it's 5,200, right? If you go and you look at the money case, rubles by themselves, you can fit 100,000 per space for money. So if you're really hurting for money, don't store things in your stash other than money. Because you can always bankroll your items. The only exception to that would be if you're doing tasks that have a time limit, like the Punisher tasks and whatnot. Then I would suggest definitely keeping, weapon loadouts ready to go, because you're going to be pushing objectives harder and you're putting yourself at risk a little more, and you have a time limit, so you don't want to spend a bunch of time in the traders buying stuff that you could just have taking up space here. The other exception is If you haven't finished all of your tasks, definitely you're going to want to keep task items in your stash. For example, the AS Val here, I have it waiting for a 30 round mag. But you know, like Ghost Mask, Shamags, Shmaskas, batteries, you know, corrugated hose, all that stuff that you need for all those missions that are a pain in the ass to find while you're out and about. Save those in your stash instead of items. That way, you know, when that mission comes up, you can just turn it in easily and you're done with it. Especially because it seems like once the mission is activated, those items that are required become more rare. For example, the Shmaska, it took me probably about 100 raids and I found one Shmaska. And then the second one actually was given to me by somebody, which was super fortunate because I didn't find another one. And then right after I completed that mission, the very next raid that I did, I found two Shamaskas right in that raid. So, you know, I think that it's super beneficial to keep mission items in your stash rather than, you know, random nonsense. The one thing you do want to keep in mind, you always want free space in your stash, no matter what you're storing. So if you're going to do like I'm doing here and keep consumables and then, you know, operating items and whatnot, you always want a space for your raids where, you know, if you come home with a tri-zip or if you come home with a pilgrim or an attack 2 full of stuff, you need to have room to be able to put that in your stash because you can't sell stuff that's on your body. So, um, those are kind of the ways I think you can organize your stash. Obviously, like I said, just keeping money is your most efficient way to store things. But if you're like me and you like collecting things and holding on to cool weapons, you could do that too. On a side note, again, I think the item cases are probably a better bet versus weapons cases. You know, you just get a little more flexible space. You know, you could keep 4 rifles in here versus, you know, just these rifles. Actually, yeah. So these weapon cases are super expensive. Just store money. It's just easier. If you have any suggestions, drop it down in the comments. I'm always open for hearing different ways people are organizing things. If you liked the video, thumbs up. If you disliked it, thumbs down. It's cool. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you out in the streets of Tarkov. Alright guys, catch you on the flip side. Peace.